Good evening, everyone, and welcome back once again to Fair Play Racing League Tier 3. I'm back on the trusted main commentary today and joined once again by TJM for today's race, the Australian Grand Prix around Albert Park. Of course, in this game we run the older configuration of the circuit, which some love but many hate. 5.3 kilometers of action down under, 16 corners, and not a lot of margin for error. Our championship leader Snedden cannot wait to wrap up the championship, but he can't do it today. But believe it or not, his lead is that big that he can do it next week in Singapore, should he come away with maximum points from today's event. Both titles look almost certain to be wrapped up now, TJ, but the fight for second place is most certainly on in both the drivers and the constructors championships. We might race cars here, TJ, in Formula 1, but instead of horses, I should say. But I'll use the phrase, if you had to back a horse at this point to get to the finishing post first in second place, who will it be? Will it be the mighty Magsy, the mighty FPRL Locker at the minute in P3, or will it be somebody else?
Yeah, hi Bill. I mean, it's really tough currently. I think based on current form, you've probably got to say Mags is the better chance to finish P2. Locker had a really good start to the season and has dropped off form recently. He has had some decent results though, but yeah, I think based on current form, Magsy does get P2 for me.
Yeah, I mean, there is 5 rounds to go after today, of course, so a lot can happen this evening that can dictate both championships so far. Locker hasn't had a podium, interesting enough. I was looking up some facts earlier, as I do. When I got nothing better to do anyway. Locker has not had a podium since Barcelona, but still finds himself P3 in the championship. I couldn't believe it when I saw that fact. Is that a testament to really the strong start of the season that he had, and kind of the fact that he's managed to pick up points in the remaining races despite not finishing high up the grid?
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned that Locker had a very good start to the season, got himself a couple of podiums, and got himself up there. He has dropped off form, as we mentioned as well, but yeah, he's always, even if he hasn't got through to Q3 or the back end of the grid, of the top 10, he has such good race pace. He gets himself up into the P5, P4 positions and gaining points that way.
Yeah, and that is how he has managed to hold on, at least to the lead that P2 has in the championship so far. Midfield Maestro is the first driver to set us on our way to a hard lap. Midfield Maestro has got pace, we know that, we saw that last week as well. We'll be able to challenge the likes of Snedden today, so Snedden's here, I know Adrian isn't. We speak about them often on a Wednesday, but Snedden definitely is here if his teammate isn't. Can Midfield Maestro take the fight to him today, and do you think we'll see some surprises with this track?
Yeah, so with Midfield Maestro, we have some pace. Last time out, he couldn't match him through Monza, unfortunately, but we're still pushing there. I would like to think we could see Midfield Maestro give Snedden the fight, but given how good Snedden's been so far this season, it's a tough ask for the standing Red Bull driver. And yeah, for this track as well, it punishes drivers for slight mistakes. So through turn 1, if you miss your braking point, you go straight into the grass and maybe gravel trap. Turns 4 and 5 can be tricky as well if you haven't got the grip correctly. And then the one that most drivers hate, I'm going to say, is between 9 and 10, where you've got the very fast left-hander to right-hander. And if you just go slightly off track there and hit the curb, the car goes spinning.
Yeah, it really is a track which some drivers do hook up with, some don't. And hopefully on that basis we do see a slightly mixed up field today, especially for those out there on track. Only 16 drivers, as I mentioned, of course, not the full grid today, but we do run a full qualifying session. Enough. I know some drivers aren't a fan of the short qualifying, but we have got enough to run that full qualifying session, and it is Midfield Maestro at the moment that does lead the way at the moment, as we've just seen Nigel Piggle on screen, losing it at the final corner. Very easy to do there, of course, as he was about to finish his first flying lap. Of course, that ruins the next lap as well, so we'll have to go all the way around again. And hopefully he's got enough fuel in the car to go again. So it is, as I mentioned, Midfield Maestro leading at the moment, just over 6/10 back to Panic End in P2. His teammate for this evening, Hobnob, in P3, a second back as well. So Midfield Maestro with the pace early on. We've seen Nigel Pickle have an early spin here. I don't know how long is left in this session, TJ. There's quite a lot of drivers in the pits though, not choosing to come out early on, so perhaps saving tyres. Soprano Legend as well becomes a bit of a lawnmower through the final sector and comes into the pit lane, interestingly enough. Drivers are saving tyres here. Do you think that's what we're seeing? You know, there is still 7 guys in the pits. Make that Soprano Legend now also in the pit lane. Without a front wing, it should be said, but do you think they are saving tyres, or do you think they will struggle to get, you know, clean times in with invalidation around here?
I'm not saying. I don't think that they are saving tyres. Maybe they're waiting for the track warm up a little bit or something. But also, some drivers could be sitting in the pit lane waiting to see who's out and who drops it. You know, all it takes is one person to drop it, and you're all through to Q2. So I think there could be that little bit of gamemanship going on there.
Yep, of course. As we mentioned, we have 16 drivers tonight, so we will only lose 1 from the first part of qualifying at the moment. Skibit has a time on the board, but he's not having a good time of it at the moment. Down at turn 1, Nigel Pickle then looking to start a representative run now then. Down into turn 1 he goes here. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, TJ, a little bit more of the older configuration, of course, not quite the new configuration that we saw in the race this season in the real world F1 race. Hopefully we get to see that in the next game. Do you think, personally yourself, do you think you prefer the new layout as opposed to this one? I know it takes out one of the corners that some drivers find an issue with. I feel like it adds a bit more challenge to the circuit, but obviously we won't see this configuration again, hopefully.
Yeah, I think I do prefer the new configuration. They have cut out. I have got a track map up it quickly. So they have cut out, and I have got the old track map, unfortunately. Is this the track? So it's turns 9 and 10 come in this track. They've cut out, and they've sort of made it one long straight all the way through to the new turn 9 and 10. And they've also done a change to turn 12 as well, and made it a bit more harsh to turn into. So yeah, so I think especially on the new straight, it's going to capture a lot of drivers, especially when they get to the new turns 9 and 10 for that quick left-right-hander.
Yeah, it is much more of a fast-flowing circuit. Whether we see any more overtaking or not is something else to be seen, of course. Next season, Nigel Pickle across the line, slower than Midfield Maestro, interestingly enough then, a 122.5, just over a tenth back from the Red Bull, currently fastest in this session. Some of those drivers that were sat in the pits now choosing to come out on track, and the 2 William boys are out there at the moment, fighting for P2 in the Constructors' Championship, of course. I think we pretty much know who's going to win the Constructors and almost the drivers at this stage. Fight for P2 and P3 really hotting up, and Willie Bum will not want to do a repeat of that as he spins then down at turn 3. Back on his way, avoiding damage. He'll be able to go again, but that compromises his run now, TJ. But we've seen from Nigel Pickle and Panic, and those laps that they've set have come on 3-lap-old tyres. So in terms of tyre wear around here, is it possible to carry on a set of tyres and set faster times?
Yeah, I think so. That we can do that way, carry the soft tyres through. But yeah, definitely for what Nigel and Panic End are setting, that's a fantastic lap for Magsy there. Sorry, at 122.4 faster than Midfield Maestro. That's some pure pace there. That's the quickest we've seen all season.
Yeah, great lap there from Magsy. We're hoping that he can replicate that, of course, later on into qualifying. That time will no doubt see him through to at least the second part of qualifying. Of course, Midfield Maestro choosing to retire in the pits. Skibit has done so as well on a 1:50, so not choosing to push the tyres or his car much further. Surely now the drivers know that they just need to put a semi-representative time in at this stage to make it through. We'll be losing Skibit from this session.
Yeah, certainly. You know, perhaps push it down the first sector into the second sector as well, and when you get to turns 11, 12, take off the throttle a little bit, you know, take it nice and easy through there. then put the throttle back down for the last bit of the track, and you know a high 130 would do you at this point.
Valente across the line. It's a 1:22.9, which gets him into 4. Half a second off the pace at the moment, but how much he was pushing, we don't know just yet. Of course, with that time from Skivid in P11 at the moment. FPR Locker's just had a moment through that sweeping chicane at the end of Sector 2. He carries on his way. He's on an outlap. His tyres much good, I would imagine, if he was planning to use those later on in qualifying. Another driver that seems to be struggling at the moment, Iron Jaw, as he comes off the final corner, avoids the wall. Very fortunately there, doesn't get any damage, but these drivers, TJ, I don't know if they know that they don't have to push that hard, but it seems like a lot of drivers are struggling out there, and in fact, Iron Jaw comes into the pits.
Yeah, it's a bit strange, but I do wonder if drivers are just trying to get a little bit comfy with the track. You know, you don't have to push to get comfy with the track, but perhaps on some more tricky corners, drivers are just pushing out a little bit more just to see what the limits are. But yeah, you don't want to be pushing too hard and push yourself going through to Q2 at this point.
Well, Willybum is listening and does know what's going on. He has retired on a 1:36.2. That will get him through to the second part of qualifying. One of the drivers we are yet to see the true pace of is Snedden69. He's now on a flying lap, but of course we don't know how fast he's pushing, and by the looks of his telemetry, not very much. He knows that he just has to put a safe time in to make it through to the second part of qualifying there. So I don't think we're going to get to see his true pace here, as he's going to trickle over the line. He's worked it out as well, and FPR Locker hasn't worked it out just yet.
Yeah, that's very clever from Snedden. That is, he's either listening to us or he's seen what's going on. And yeah, well, why burn a set of tyres up when you can use them in the later session or even the race?
Yep, David Lopez starts a flying lap now. Maxi retires from provisionally the fastest time in this session. I imagine in 5 minutes' time it will be the fastest time in this session. The drivers in the pit lane won't need to come out again that have put a time in. Soprano Legend on an outlap, as to his Iron Jaw, who pitted and swaps a set of those soft tyres out for a new set of soft tyres. David Lawface looking as well like he's going very gently as well, and he knows he doesn't have to push for a lap time here, so there's not really too much to commentate on at the moment, of course, and not very quick times on the board. So just discussing the times that we have got at the moment, TJ. We haven't seen the best from Snedden yet, of course, but those top three separated by just over a tenth of a second. That surely teases us a little bit for later on in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely, as Valente goes faster. But once again, this could be track evolution, maybe. Drivers are going around lane a bit rubber down, but even so, the top four now separated by just over a tenth. So yeah, this is a set of a very nice Q2, Q3, especially when Chuck Snedden's the mix. You know, I mean, the likes of Mags and Valente there will be over the moon at the times are set there compared to Mayfield Maestro and Nigel Piddle.
Yeah, Mayfield Maestro and Nigel Piddle, we know, very quick drivers. Magsy can be on his day, as to Valente, but yeah, very, very close in this opening part of qualifying. As FPR Locker, TJ, has invalidated again.
That's a nightmare from a McLaren driver, that is. I mean, maybe he's just trying to push a little bit too hard, but as we keep saying, drivers just need to literally copy what Snedden did and just take a casual stroll around the track.
Doesn't need to push at the moment. He is doing so. David Lawface as well has invalidated. Maybe they're just trying to give us something to talk about at this stage. Yeah, and continue on. Ned is now retired, I think. Did he hit the wall here?
He's hit the wall, yeah. He's hit the wall, yeah. So, Skivid fact, it's a 150.8 Skivid has got through to Q2.
That is absolutely unbelievable. Skivid is showing us through to Q2. I don't think he will be there at the end of it, providing the other four get times in. I think he will still start 16th. Nedda will be 15th.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Not participating anymore in qualifying. David Longface now does start another flying lap. All he needs to do is put a valid time in here. As Locker's looking to do, third time lucky on that set of tyres. He validated his first effort, his second effort, but coming around the final corner, he's avoided it this time. He's showboating with a bit of weaving. He knew what he was doing, apparently. Down the main straight, across the line. Oh, it's a whopping 1:27.1. What a time from the McLaren driver. Puts him 10. And David Longface as well on a lap, looking like maybe he's got the hit now to go a little bit more gentle with the limits of the track. And he will be through provided this is a valid time. But I am Jaw at the moment. P16 hasn't got a time and he's on an out lap. I don't know if he's got the memo. He's just got to put a valid time in. 2 minutes to run here, so he's going to get one effort at it. So, yeah, TJ, you mentioned Skivid with a 150.8. Might be through to Q2, but Iron Jaw can't get a time on the board. He definitely might be through to Q2 with that time.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what Iron Jaw's done here, to be honest. I mean, he's going to validate things out lap. Maybe he hasn't realised that he doesn't have a Porsche. But yeah, all he needs to do is just take it gentle through every corner and set himself a decent time here. He gets through to Q2. So I'm assuming he'll ride on board with him through his lap to see what he does, as he's the last driver that can possibly do anything.
Yeah, 1 minute and 20 on the clock as he comes across the line then, so it really is crunch time for Iron Jaw now. Does need to get a time on the board, that's all he needs to do to get himself through into the second part of qualifying. He has to beat a 150.8 of Skivid to put Skivid down into 16th. There we saw a crash early on for the chicane at the end of Sector 2, pushing rather unnecessarily. I think that was a little bit of inexperience on his part, and I think TJ Australia is renowned for not being great for overtaking, so he's going to be really in trouble for the race surely now.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, it's not great for overtaking, but drivers can make mistakes, and that's why overtaking opportunities are really. Obviously, there is three DRS zones around here, but the only DRS zone I find useful is the one on the main straight by the pit lane. The other two just give you that little advantage to perhaps close up or pull away from someone if your mind's going to overtake done.
Yeah, and maybe we will see down into turn 1 and even turn 3, we will see that overtaking take place. It's Iron Jaw coming around the final corner. He has managed to avoid invalidation. He come very close to invalidating through that chicane, but he has avoided it and does cross the line and does take P11, pushing Skivid down into P16. Great time at least to get through into Q2. Haven't seen the representative times from the field yet, but top 4 very closely bunched together. 10th and a half between 1 and 4 then. So we will lose 2 drivers from this session as opposed to the one that we were going to lose. Neder, as I mentioned, crashing earlier on, would give us 14 in Q2. As we wait on David Longface, who's dribbling round out there on 4-lap gold tyres. I think he's run out of fuel as well. Good measure. Has he? I don't know. He's taking it gently. That's all we'll say. As we wait to go into the second part of qualifying. Then, of course, TJ, it's probably a good point to talk about the tyre strategy then. So into Q2 now, of course. Here's the big debate: whether you go softs, whether you go mediums. What do you think we'll see from some of the drivers? What do you think the tyre is to start on this race?
I do think the medium size is the tyre to start on this race. The soft tyre obviously gives you the advantage off the start line, but I do think it wears down quicker under race conditions with a heavy fuel load. So I do think we'll see drivers attempting to do the mediums, but as we see most weeks, I think drivers will set a lap on the mediums, and then the hand will be forced to run the softs.
Yeah, especially with only 14 guys left, of course. It is a little bit of a margin. to get through the medium tyres then. But there is your classification for Q1. As we mentioned, the top 4 separated by just under a tenth and a half. Valente, Maxi, Midfield, Maestro take the top 3, separated themselves by less than 400ths of a second. So hopefully we're going to get a competitive qualifying there. Diamond in P5, Panic N P6, Hobnob P7, I'm Not Good P8, David Lawface P9, Soprano Legend P10. And we'll lose from this session are Neder, who we saw crash out 5 minutes before the end, I think, in Q1, roughly pushing on a lap. He didn't need to, but he chose to anyway. And Skibid, who retired earlier on in the session and gave us a little bit of a complex in that Q1 session there, so thanks for that, Skibid. You made that really competitive towards the end as we go into Q2 now then. I'm going to quickly run for a comfort break, as I didn't realise the time when we came off stream, so I haven't had a chance to the toilet yet. I'll leave you in the capable hands of who will chat some Snooky waffle.
Hey. Yeah, thanks, Edel. As the drivers are choosing the tyres, once again we have got that one clown that has decided to choose a wet tyre, and unfortunately this week it is David Dollface. However, he's picked a set of mediums now, and as we spoke about towards the end of Q1 there, most drivers have selected the medium tyres. However, midfield Mark decided to also set softs, and along with them at the moment, Panican, who's on softs, Willy Bombs picked softs, Soprano Legend, the Hobnob, everyone else is on the medium tyre. Midfield Maestro is the first one out the pit, so we'll just, I know you can't see it viewers currently, but I will ride on board of him as he comes across the line. He has pushed a little bit on his out lap, perhaps try and get some temperature into his tyres. But hopefully he doesn't wind down too much around here, as he still is pushing it really a little bit. More drivers coming out to the pit lane. We're now down to 2 drivers on soft tyres, and both out on track, which is Panican and Midfield Maestro. So most drivers are wanting to start on mediums, but we'll see if their hands are forced later in the session to switch to soft tyres. As Midfield Maestro is about to take the final corner, get himself prepared for his fast lap, hot lap. And puts his foot to the floor as he has a bit of a wobble. That won't help him with picking the speed up, but crosses the line and is on his fast lap, approaching turns 1 and 2, and then validates it as he takes turn 1 straight over the curb. So we'll ride on board the Panicans, who is taking turns 1 and 2 the correct way, not invalidated it, straight down to turn 3. As mentioned, this is one of the other drivers that's on the soft tyres, everyone else is on mediums currently. So as mentioned, that the third tyre stretch at the moment is mediums, and suggesting we all have a dry race around Albert Park.
Yeah, maybe I haven't quite checked the tyre choices yet. There we go. All but 2 drivers, of course, on the medium tyres, as you can now see on the left-hand side of your screen. Thank you for that, TJ. I timed that really well there. Couldn't hold on much longer. But we're back. I don't know who the first driver is that will put us a time in. We're with Panic End at the moment.
it'll be Panic End, Midfield Maestro, and validated as well.
Oh well, there we go. Couldn't have guessed much better there. So Panic End then comes around the final sector now. Let's see what time he can put on the board. I imagine it'll be a time that will get him through to Q3, depending on if the drivers do come in for those soft tyres. So it still needs to be a decent time as I endure them retires. In sector 3, we'll go back to that in just a moment as Panic End crosses the line. It's a 23.7, so not the fastest of times there from Panic End. Might need to go again on that set of soft tyres. Maxi then coming up now to the scene of the crash. There's a lovely tyre just lying on the circuit there. So, nice one.
Yeah, it was a weird place for George up there. I think what he's done is he's tried to take turn 14 and gone a bit too wide, dropped over the curb into the gravel and just spun the car around and unfortunately hit the wall.
Yeah, easily done, of course. It's a bit of an old school circuit, this one. More gravel traps, and more grassy patches, learner runoffs, and Ironjaw falling victim to that then. So we know we will lose Ironjaw from this session. Maxi with a 23.6 as he came over the line, perhaps highlighting just how much that lap from Paniken needed improvement to get through to the third part of qualifying. Hobnob over the line, 24.5 from him, beats Derek Lowface, but still, that lap might not be enough to get through either, and he might need to go again based on the pace of Diamond and Maxi then.
Yeah, I mean, look at laps that David and Willie both set there, 125, 4 and 25.8. That they've also had issues on the way down, whether the tyres weren't warm enough, or perhaps they just didn't feel comfy through turns 10, 11. But yeah, they'll be definitely wanting to go back round or put a set of softs on.
If Maestro into the pit centre, might be thinking about coming out on a set of mediums now and trying to get through on those. We probably know he's got the pace to do so. Should he try it? Whether that was an experiment on the soft tyres there remains to be seen. The other driver's not having the best of times recently. I'm not good now. Put a time in of a 131.6 and 131.9 I should say, because he definitely needs to go again with that lap. The pace that we saw of him, we know we saw pace rounds ago in Austria, but he hasn't managed to back that up really in these recent races.
No, he hasn't, which is a shame. Obviously, it has been a bit of a. It says long into the season now when perhaps drivers getting a bit too complacent and perhaps they aren't suiting the back end of the tracks here, or it could be that they're fed up with Codemasters F1 2021 and looking forward to F1 22. But either way, yeah, he'll be hoping for a better result than that, especially 138.19. A quick note there, it looks like all drivers are struggling on the medium tyres. I've just been bored of Snedden, and he starts this fast lap and he invalidated straight on turn 2. It didn't look like the grip, he would look to be uncomfy through it, so there's definitely some tyre issues with the mediums currently.
Yeah, whether it just takes a lap or two to get the heat into them as opposed to the soft tyres, of course. Stage of qualifying, those drivers that have put the practice in on the mediums get caught out a little, and perhaps it will show then the drivers that do put the work in here. Nigel Pickle doing well so far in his lap, now comes to the fast left right. That's more like it from Paniken, the 23.3. That should see him through, depending on drivers coming in and putting the soft tyres on, of course. Nigel Pickle keeping it valid through there at the very least, now coming around the final sector. Got to try and avoid doing what Ironjaw did just a few moments ago, and has managed it then. And coming around the final couple of corners now, kisses the apex beautifully there. Now this off-camera final corner just loves to throw you wide into the wall, but he's managed to keep it out of the wall and will come down across the start-finish line. It's a 1:23.7, just behind Maxi in B3. A good time to see him through, but we keep talking about it. It depends on the game. I think they want to put the soft tyres on here.
Yeah, definitely. Hobnob and Willie Bumavoy put a set of stuff waiting in the pits, so they're definitely going back out. Imagine David Lawface will do the same as Soprano legend. So yeah, some new drivers.
Sorry to interrupt there, TJ. We've just seen, as we were following round our championship leader, Snedden, he got it way too hot at the end of Sector 1, run wide on the curves, lit up the rears, and has put it in the wall. And is out then of qualifying in Q2.
That is a massive upset for the Alfa Romeo team. Obviously, as we've discussed in Q1, that Albert Park isn't famous for its overtaking. So starting P14, I'm going to assume at this point, I'm assuming Phil Marshall Gay's lap in. That is a massive ask for Snedden to obviously get back up into the podium places, I'm going to say. Although he can afford to lose a couple of points with his gap he's got currently.
We know he's come back from worse and managed to come away with a podium. Nigel Piddle in a 23.3 on those medium tyres, finding some pace. And that time, even if speed drivers come and put the softs on, we'll surely see him through into the final part of qualifying and gets it crucially starting on those medium tyres that so many of the grid want to start on for the race. As we're riding now with FPRL Locker, who is managing to come around the final couple of corners now. A little bit skittish on the exit there, doesn't quite hug the curve as much as some drivers like to through that final corner, but will come across the line. It's a 1:24.9, puts him P8, and I imagine he'll be very quickly going again with that time. That's probably not enough to see him through to the final qualifying. But going back, TJ, to the shock of the session then, Snedden getting it all wrong on the outskirts of that corner there. It's a strange place, I think, to drop it. I don't know many drivers that do that, and I think he'll be disappointed that that's happening, of course. But more than anything, I think he would have expected that crash to happen there.
Yeah, definitely. As you mentioned, it's not a place that you see many drivers doing what Snedden did there. So the only thing you can imagine, yeah, is he had the tyres a bit too hot. Perhaps lost a bit of grip off the curb. Or perhaps his setup just doesn't suit the medium tyres. But we have seen setups that are perfect with softs, but any other compound tyre they just struggle with. So that Snedden could be really concerned here. But as we've discussed it, you know, he can't. He has got a decent points gap as FPL Locker's dropped it, and Hobnob's gone into it.
They've synchronised and they've crashed both on the same corner there. What has happened there? The same part on the track. FPRL Locker and Hobnob both then out of qualifying within moments of each other coming through the same corner. They almost followed each other on track into that collision and they're crashing out there. We're riding on Hobnob as that happened, and yeah, just that's a more likely place to crash. They just ran wide, lit up the rears, and ended on the inside. Well, that one's plausible. As you said, teammate said it was expecting that then. Magsy now choosing to retire as well. This will help out a lot of the guys, of course, that will be looking to start on mediums, and all but 2 then of the top 10 so far have set their times on the medium tyres. Midfield Maestro and Pan again both choosing to set their laps on the soft. Just under 3.5 minutes to go now. I'm Not Good needs to not mess around for too long and get back to the pits to put a time in to put himself through into Q3 then. As long as Soprano Legend and I'm Not Good put a semi-respectable time in here, know who is through. So final part of qualifying with Hobnob, FPRL Locker, Iron Jaw and Snedden will take no further part. And I think, TJ, this is by far the most crashes we've seen in the qualifying section of Tier 3 this season.
Yeah, it says. You know, and it goes back to the Albert Park is such a trick. It's an old school track, as you mentioned. It's full of gravel traps. It is very technical. And if you haven't got the balance of the car right, especially through the fast left right hander, you do get punished on this track very bad. And you know, it's not something we've seen very often in Tier 3, so it's nothing to do with the driver standards or anything. It is purely because this track is so old school and so technical, and that slight mistake will cost you.
Yep, as we watch Soprano Legend then about to finish his out lap and starting a hot lap now then. Just over 2 minutes to go left of the session. It doesn't look like then I'm Not Good, who's now run out of fuel, down in P12. Doesn't look like he's going to get in and back around to set a lap, so I'm pretty sure we're also going to lose the second McLaren from qualifying. Soprano Legends taking a very interesting line there. He doesn't need to push too hard here, only a 24.9 to beat. He's on the soft tyres to get through to the final part of qualifying, and I'm Not Good must be kicking himself there, because with Locker and Hobnob dropping out, as you can see, the rest of the grid choosing to call it a day and just go through on the times that they've set. I'm Not Good must surely know that if he did get in and get those tyres on, then he would have put a time in, but he ran out of fuel, TJ, and surely that's I don't want to say it, but it's a bit of an amateur mistake there from I'm Not Good.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's what we discussed earlier in Q2 that, you know, I'm Not Good. He hasn't been on form recently since Austria, and perhaps that clouds his judgment slightly. But yeah, he'll definitely kick himself there, because it was a golden opportunity for him to get into Q3 and start high up the field, especially around the track where overtaking is very limited.
Yep, and he will now start no higher than P12. And Soprano Legend around the final corner. Can he knock down FPL Locker into P11? Take no further part in qualifying anyway. And he will indeed start. Oh, it's actually Willy Bun that's gone down to P11 with the time that he set there, 25.8 then. So no further part in qualifying for Willy Bun then. With that time that he set. Soprano Legend makes it through both Aston Martins on the soft tyre then. Interestingly enough, I made very quick off the line. Gives him limited scope in terms of strategy, of course, but Soprano Legend does get through to Q3. That was the main task, and he will compete in the final part of qualifying. But that's really good there. He's tired in P11. Was that on track? Was that optional? I don't know. I didn't see him crash.
I don't think so, but I think he got forced down because of his time.
Yeah, he retired in the pits. I don't know whether he thought he was through on that 25A. But yeah, I didn't see him crash on track. I'm pretty sure he chose to retire in the pits. Whether he thought he was through with that time, I don't know. But yeah, as Hobnob and Locker have set the faster times, while they will not compete in the top 10 shootout, or top 8 shootout now, they will still take those places on the grid, of course. Might have got that calculation a little bit wrong. And, well, he's now in a McLaren sandwich for the start of the race anyway, so that might make it interesting for him off the line.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, what an interesting qualifying round so far. It's, I mean, you did call it in Q1 that we would get some sort of surprise during qualifying, and the grid is definitely mixed up. And it could call for a good race, but with a lack of overtaking, it could be so hard for these fast drivers at the back of the grid.
Yep, and it will definitely make for an interesting race, however. But there you go. I think it's the first time in FPRL we've seen 6 drivers out then in a 14-driver Q2. But there you have it. Nigel Piggle fastest in the session is 23.3. Very quick from him, but of course, tyre difference to come into effect in Q3. Is he now the man to beat, that we no longer have championship leader Snedden taking part in the final part of qualifying? Nigel Piggle, Paniken, Magzi, all the top 3. 3 drivers on the soft tyres, Paniken, Soprano Legend and midfield Maestro. They'll be very quick off the start, of course, but all those tyres grain up a bit too early, and the 6 drivers will lose. Hobnob, FPR Locker, Willy Bum, I'm Not Good, I Endure, and our championship leader Snedden will start then in P14 now for the race later on.
Yep, some news from I'm Not Good. He is really gutted himself. He ran out of fuel. He is saying that if he had 1 more second of fuel, he would have gone to Q3. So very unfortunate from the McLaren driver there. But it's, you know, it is part of being a driver that you manage your fuel and make sure you got enough to at least complete lap, especially if you're on a fast lap.
We will have now a very condensed Q3 session, 8 drivers now fighting for that pole position. So the sun's gone in slightly, whether that's going to make track temperatures a little bit reduced. Remains to be seen. Will we see the times that we saw in Q1 now from the likes of Maxi and Maestro? We know they've got the pace to compete in the top 3 at the very least. I can't change out of cockpit, can I? There we go.
One thing that I'm finding really strange, and that all the drivers have come out so close to each other. I know that Q3 drivers come out as soon as they can, but all of them seem to have come out pretty much at the same time. And is that an indication that what you just mentioned there about the sun going down a little bit, could there be a little bit of rain on the way?
Potentially. It doesn't look too cloudy overhead, but there's always the potential. Of course, Australia to any wet race. Just moving down in sector 3 then, as Nigel Piggle leads the field then to the first runs here in this Q3 session. But as Nigel Pickle here, the favourite for pole. We haven't had a pole for pole go up yet, unfortunately. David Loftus, if you are listening, you usually set the pole for pole, but you are currently in Q3, so that's probably why we don't have one this week. He's usually not taking part in Q3, of course. I do know how to set a pole for pole, but I feel like I'll be taking the limelight away from you there as Nigel Pickle invalidates it on turn 1 and 2, and that's his first run out of the window then. So now it's up to the likes of Soprano Legend and Magsy to get their first times on the board then. Magsy clean so far. Sneddon's leaving the session. He's had enough. He doesn't want to start in P14. I imagine everyone will be screaming, don't re-invite him. But I'm sure he'll come back to us very shortly then. And Magsy then continues on round. Hasn't invalidated just yet. Attacking the curves. All of his might there, keeping it out of the wall on the exit. And of course now coming up to the dreaded chicane the left, right here at the end of sector 2. Takes the first curve very, very generously and gets a bit of a swapper on the exit there, but manages to control it now coming to the end of sector 2. The tight right-hander. When he looks to kiss the apex, he does indeed. A little bit wide on the curve. Now he's got to try and avoid the iron jawline and not end up in the wall. And now it's the left-right flick at the end of the sector as Seddon rejoins us just in time to watch Magsy put his time on the board. And he comes up and over the line. It's a 1:22.3. That's a good benchmark for the drivers to try and beat it. We're going to get a second time. Soprano Legend over the line, and now it's David Lowface with a 24.3 as well. Panic Ken crossing the line now as well. It's a 23.3. A second off though, Magsy, who's provisionally on pole, and Valente then with a 23.1. But what a lap there from Magsy in P1.
Yeah, definitely got pole for pole up, but Magsy is my choice for pole for definite today. He has shown fantastic pace with Q1 and Q2. And you know, even with Nigel, he's still been about 10% of him. So yeah, Mags is definitely my pole for pole.
Yeah, we'll have a one-man pole for pole today. That's it. Magsy, you've got to get pole now. As the man who's probably most likely to challenge Magsy at this stage, based on what we've seen in qualifying so far, Nigel Pickle looks to take a second lap then on those soft tyres, which he started session on. He's taking very gently there. Left, right, avoiding the curve very much so on the right hand side there, and coming through now to the final sector. There's a yellow flag out just ahead of him. Aston Martin appears to have gone off the track. Soprano Legend, who's now rejoined, and Nigel Pickle invalidating himself there, and will now come into the pits for a new set of tyres then. But it is very gloomy.
Yeah, it says, I was just about mentioning it now, just in a lot of trouble here how gloomy it's getting. It does look like it could be a little spot of rain potentially. And the fact it hasn't set a lap yet is really disastrous, especially if it does start raining ever so slightly. You know, Albert Park's hard enough stays as midfield master goes quickest 1:22.1. That's a fantastic lap from the Red Bull driver.
Yep, fantastic time for Midford Maestro there. As you mentioned, a 22.1 to go, just short of a 10th and a half ahead of Magsy in P2. Interesting enough, on a second lap of tyres as well. It's definitely looking like it might start raining soon, TJ. Your theory about drivers going a little bit earlier in the session to try and get the time in might be proving the truth to that at this moment in time. I'm still sat in the pits though, five cars in the pits out of the 8. At the moment, not in a rush to get another time in at the moment. But yeah, great time from Midfield Maestro then to provisionally put that Red Bull onto pole. I wouldn't possibly be happy about that at all. But getting that car onto provisional pole position on those 2 lap times. As Valente then coming around the final sector, I imagine he will be into the pits for a new set of tyres. No, he isn't. He's carried on round. This will be the 3rd lap he's done on this soft set of tyres, perhaps trying to emulate a bit of a midfield maestro, and puts that car into P3 then. A 22.4, a decent time from him considering the age of those tyres, and just under 2 tenths behind Maxi P2 then.
Yeah, I mean, he'll want to get back on and put a set of softs on, but for how dark the track is getting, it does seem like it's getting darker. There's a chance here that he never does get back on and put a set of softs on, that it could be too late. Nigel Piggle is back off on his out lap. He didn't spend too much time in the pits there, but if we want to get a lap in as soon as possible, really, especially if that rain does start coming down.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes left of the session now. No spots of rain just yet, but it is, as we've mentioned, very overcast ahead. And there is now 5 drivers on an out lap then. Looking to get around to put, imagine, 1, 2 more laps in on the board, but it definitely won't get another set of tyres on now before the end of the session. And it is the challenger at the moment, Maxi in P2, who is going to get us underway for this lap then.
I am on board with Nigel Piggle, keeping an eye on him, see what he's doing. He is nice and clean. Obviously, he's got Magsy in front of him currently. So I'll jump to him as Magsy is a little bit down his time through sector 1, but it's still not disaster, still plenty of time here to make it up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just you, TJ, but I thought the track surface just looked a little bit shiny, greasy.
Yeah.
I'm just seeing now, I think I'm just seeing the first spots of rain on the camera. Magsy getting a little bit distracted there, hopping the chicane, not invalidating, fortunately for him. Coming through that sector 2 cutoff now. It hasn't given me any kind of delta time, thankfully. That's really helpful. So I don't actually know how he's doing in terms of lap time, but there is spots falling.
Yes, there is. He was just under 2 times quicker through sector 2, so assuming the wet hasn't caught up too much, he'll go pole as he lost a bit of time in the last sector. But drivers won't to improve around here with that rain.
Nigel Piggle then, P4, 22.487, the exact same time as Belente in P3, but because Belente set the time first, he gets priority then on the grid. There's an Aston Martin behind Nigel Piggle, who's got it all wrong and hit the wall. It's Soprano Legend, who will now not get another time in, but the rain is falling here at the end of Q3. We thought it might, and with 2.5 minutes to go, depending on how quickly it falls, of course, it's hard to see any drivers now improving on their lap. As Nigel Piggle, out of qualifying then.
He just got a bit too greedy on the curb going just before the end of sector 1 and just stepped up the curb and hit the wall.
I think it would have been hard, as I mentioned. I think it would be difficult to see any drivers improve on their time now with this rain. And Soprano Legend now in the wall as well, no front wing for him either. It would be massively disappointing that one for Nigel Piggle before. I think he was pretty confident that he could challenge for pole position.
Oh, and Diamond's dropped it now. In the exact same place.
Everyone getting caught up by the wet weather then.
A Soprano Legend's dropped it.
So a bit fishy's going on here. I hope these drivers aren't putting it into the wall on purpose, knowing that they won't improve. Soprano Legend didn't have a front wing before approaching that corner. Valente then, he's going to try and set a lap. I mean, fair play. And if you improve on your time in these conditions, you more than deserve pole position then. Midwood Maestro though, looks like he might have secured then pole position, depending now on what Valente can do. It's almost intermediate conditions now. Around the first sector. Let's see what his time's like. It's 4 tenths now then, so I think we can pretty confidently say Midfield Maestro is going to be on pole. Maxi 2, Valente 3, Dark P5, Panican P6, Soprano Legend P7, David Lowface P8, but he did get through to Q3 and deprived us of our pole for pole. So that is the caveat of David Lowface making it through. bit of weaving on the way into the pits there. He doesn't care about who's pole for pole anymore. He's just happy to be lining up in P8 for the start of the race. TJ, if the weather conditions in the race are anything like what we've seen in qualifying, it's going to prove to be a very interesting race.
Yeah, definitely. The rain obviously caught a lot of drivers out there. As we mentioned, Albert Park it's not track. It is very slippy. Even once the race a little bit of rain comes up, makes the track a little bit greasy. And yeah, as we saw then that 3 drivers crashed out running into each other.
And there we go then. As I said, there's the top 8 then at the end of the session. The grid was really decided by the early running. And in fact, we had a close qualifying up to this point really. But at the end of the day, perhaps the weather deprived us of a shootout there. Midfield Maestro Magzi in P2 and Belente and Nigel Pickle matched exactly for but as I mentioned, Belente setting it earlier on will get priority on the grid, so Nigel Pickle P4 but still on road 2. And yeah, we now get Sned in P14 quite excitedly try and make his way through the grid, and I imagine those we say the championship is done, TJ, because we know the gaps. I mean, everyone watching, if they follow along closely, will know the gap in the championship at the moment. But do you think this gives a little bit of a window opportunity for someone like Magazine P2 to at least reduce the gap?
Yeah, definitely. It might be too much to pull that gap down fully, but he could potentially stop him from wrapping the title up next week if the calculations are correct, and yeah, just keep playing it out to back end of the season towards one of the last races. But I do think it's pretty much set that Snedden will win the T3 championship. It's just when now and not an if.
It is very much so. Just that, then it looks like we're going to have at least a dry start to the race. All the drivers abiding by the beautiful rule, which is do not radio before our lobby host this evening, which is FPRL Locker, who had that mishap in qualifying and will start then in P for McLaren. So a little bit of a mixed up grid in terms of pace. So yeah, hopefully an interesting race despite the lack of overtaking opportunities. I don't think we've done this before, TJ. I'm almost going to ask you here to pick a podium. We've got 3 drivers here that happen in the race, but who do you think will be on the podium at the end of this race?
I think we'll have I'd like to see Mags up there for definite. I think he'll do it. Midfield Marsha, and I am going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think it might be too much for him. I think Snedden will get up there.
Yeah, I mean, Snedden, I would say Snedden's usually alright with strategy, but we saw in a couple of recent races that he has played it wrong on the strategy a few times, and it's not worked out the best for him. So perhaps that is a factor in this. He has finished on the podium in the last 4 races, interestingly enough, so the odds are probably on him managing to recover to a podium finish, to the annoyance of the rest of the grid. But yeah, this championship now, I mean, in Season 3, the Tier 3 championship, as we mentioned, almost all but decided in terms of who gets the title. The fight for P2 and P3 very much still open, TJ, but it's never too early to start talking about next season. So in terms of next season, the grid we're looking at, single out some drivers, TJ, that you think might make the step up to Tier 2 or even Tier 3 next season.
Yeah, so obviously Snedden, he's the prime candidate to move up to Tier 2 or Tier 1. He's certainly shown the pace to be Tier 1, so we'll see what happens there. Adrian, I know he hasn't racing much recently, but when he's on form, he's definitely got the pace to be up in Tier 2. Same as Nigel Pegel as well. We've seen fantastic pace from him. I'd expect to see him in Tier 2 next season. Maybe midfield. I know we haven't seen midfield Maestro race very much currently, but the race he's shown him be able to keep up with Snedden. perhaps he's got the pace for Tier 1 as well. So there's 4 or 5 drivers I'd expect that could move up. But we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting indeed. Of course, 5 races left after this one before we move on to F1. It's F1 22 now, is it? Not F1 2022. It's F1 22. The next game, season 4 of FPRL, will kick off. To be decided. No one knows just yet. We haven't quite come to a consensus on when the season 4 will start. Of course, we are a couple of months away from that at the moment. Quickly, just to pop to the Twitch chat then, I don't think we've done it just yet. Nice to see Mr. Whippy here once again, even if he's unable to race, he's here watching the stream and cheering his friends along. David Lawface says he lost half a second on his fastest lap through sector 2 and 3. That's a big shame. That might have put you a bit further up the grid. Nigel Pickles being timed out. F1 fan 2905 says, good luck guys, thank you for that. F1 fan, great stuff there. I'm Not Good is absolutely livid with his lap and his qualifying performance. He also says, have you guys seen Morbius? No, I haven't yet. But one day I might. Who knows? I'm open to offers. Wants to take me up on that? We can watch it together. We can watch it, TJ, if you want. We can.
I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Yeah.
That's it. You heard it here first. Me and TJ are going on a date to watch a bit of Morbius. Thanks to that. I'm not good. And Midfield Maestro said that he let his cat do his outlap, and he also did softs in Q2.
He is on mediums.
He is on mediums.
Once again, the Red Bull team have done magic things by doing that illusion of the soft tyres. So yeah, we've got to that Red Bull.
Twin says, invite Balente. Balente back. Oh, never mind. Nice to see you here, Twins. Iron Payboy says, good luck, guys. Thanks for that, Iron Payboy. And FPR Mr. Whippy again says, I watch a few races each week. Defo the best comms. Wow, we love to see that, don't we?
Yeah, that's much appreciated. Thanks, Mr. Whippy.
I bet you say that to all the streams that you watch. So every week he's just in different streams, just saying this is the best comment I've seen all week. But no, fantastic to have you here for the start of this Australian Grand Prix. And my screen's gone off, and my screen's gone back. Interesting. 16 drivers in. Take to the grid and line up. Skibby will bring up the rear of the field. Midfield Maestro starting on pole. I've got a picture of Midfield Maestro's left shoulder. Really good camera angle there as we are waiting for the dreaded 5 lights to get going. Michael, if you want to start the lights anytime soon. Oh, it's not Michael. Here we go then. And it is going to be 5 red lights. It's 4, it is 5. And it's lights out and away we go. Then it's Midfield Maestro's got away well off the start. A horrible start for I'm Not Good, who drops right to the back of the grid but down into turn 1. Then Maxi looks like he might be pipped around the outside by Balente. Midfield Maestro takes to the grass but avoids spinning the car. Maxi's just about managed to hold P2. I don't know if he got his elbows out there against Balente, who's now being challenged by Nigel Pickle down into turn 3. And Soprano Legend then looking to make the most of a bad situation and get ahead of Balente for P4, but the Ferrari just holds his nerve there and stays ahead. And Panican dropping places, and David Lawface and Panican both out of the race then.
Yeah, I think Panican might have spun it and David Lawface went to the side of him. That's really unfortunate for the Ferrari driver there. It'd be really disappointing to get through to Q3 and not even making one lap.
Oh dear. Q3, P8, high qualifying. David Lopez, I think it was his best this season. I might be mistaken on that one. Slap me if I am. But he's now out of the race then on the opening lap. A collision with Panican puts him and the Aston Martin out then. In the first handful of corners, you can see down the left-hand side of your screen the gainers and the losers after the start, and with those 2 drivers dropping out, it's mainly gainers down the grid. Valente was picked to P3 by Nigel Pickle. Nigel Pickle playing mind games there, coming past the pit entrance, almost going on the inside of the bollard and sweeping out at the last moment. Diamond also losing a place at the start. I'm Not Good, we saw have that horrible start, but he's managed to only lose 1 place with those drivers dropping out, and 3 drivers into the pits, and one of them picks himself up a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Then TJ, why would we see 3 drivers in the pits? What have they got to lose? What are they going to go for in terms of tyres?
So they're all in the pits with front wing changes. It's a bit of a disaster for the Alpine team. We've got to double stack, and Iron Jules lost out. Neda's put a set of softs on, which is a bit of a strange strategy to go for. We thought it couldn't upset mediums on perhaps the hards. But the other 2 gents, I'm Not Good and Iron Jules, have taken the tactical choice and put mediums on at this point.
Indeed. Hopefully get a bit further into this race, and lap 2 still 9%
I'm just having a look at the Twitch chat, and David Ballface has commented saying good night, and Mr. Whippy was firing shots saying David's more DNFs and races I couldn't stand. And Collateral Lads, everyone knows he's got a thing for David. Has put at least you classify 50 thumbs up.
Yep. Well, poor David. Out of this race, then we've got Liam Brusby who says, some start from Soprano, yeah, good start from Soprano. He made up 1 place on track, he game 1 through the collision, so panicking his teammate. So not a good start for Aston Martin, but a slightly better one for Soprano Legend at the very least. It looks like we're going to be seeing an Aston Martin leading the pack a little bit longer as the safety car continues on round. To lap 3 then. Of course, all these laps behind the safety car then helping out with fuel for the drivers. 14 cars left at the moment to take part in the rest. Limits, of course, the potential to see another safety car here. So looking at the tyre situation at the moment, then most of the drivers all on to the medium tyres. 3 drivers at the moment on the softs. Soprano Legend, who had that quick start, perhaps helped by those soft tyres in fact. P5 and Skivit and Neder in P11 and 12. Neder interestingly pitting to go onto those soft tyres. TJ, so obviously we don't think they'll get those medium tyres to the end, at least those ones that have pitted and don't have to take another pit stop. So is everyone kind of on the same page here for strategy, or is someone you think going to try for a little bit of
No, I think everyone's on the same strategy at this point. Obviously Neda's probably on the worst strategy possible currently, to pit for the softs under a free pit stop essentially. It's a bit of a nightmare from the Alpine driver. But yeah, everyone else on the same page at this point. There's no one that I can imagine will throw a curveball, not unless these guys are planning to really push these mediums to the end to lap, I don't know, 19, 20, sets off some for the remainder, which I think is possible.
Yeah, potentially. I've always thought around here it is definitely one medium soft or the soft to the medium either. Softs are hard if you're I should say medium to hard. If you're what team was driving for then? The social race. I mean, the hard tyres with 7 laps to go. Great work there from the team of guys. Hopefully no one has issues like that tonight. The safety car will be in on this lap. I don't think we've seen a midfield Maestro restart before. I'm never usually right, but I don't think we have. So it'll be interesting to see how he approaches this, of course. A lot of the drivers will be grateful it's not a Snedden restart, as midfield Maestro looks like he might have caught them napping for the last couple of corners. He has indeed gone already then. Maxi over a second back already off the restart. Nigel Pickle glued down to the back of that Williams down into turn 1. No DRS of course, but will he benefit from a slipstream here? And he has managed to just hold him off for now. Maxi down into that first corner. Nobody changing places then on that safety car restart. Valente's got a little bit there through turn 1. TJ's let out an excited scream.
Snedden's dropped it coming through turn 2, hit too much curve and just lost it.
Well. The man who's been on the podium the last 4 outings, I think he's won the last 3. I might be wrong again. I think he's won the last 3. Now down in P14 and backwards after the safety car restart. The second corner then now 6.6 seconds off ahead of him in the back of the field. Now a big recovery drop needed there from the Alfa Romeo team. It might be Alfa Romeo's first 1-point scoring round this season. I know that's a fact. They've scored points in every round so far. I know that one. I had to look at that one. They've scored points in every round so far this season. If Sneddon doesn't get points here, it will be the first time his other constructors do not get those points in Midwest Motor. Still leads the way out in front, just over half a second ahead of Magsy and Nigel Pickle at the back of the Williams at the moment. Still, TJ, is anything going on down further in the field?
No, there's a couple of people glued back at Johnson. A lot glued to the back of Hobnob. There's really close to the back Skivid, but it's all generally quiet. What you expect from Albert Park, where everything is lacking in some of these jobs. I'll just be hoping to stay in that DRS zone when it gets back to the next lap.
Yeah, of course. Hold on. It is the old spec cars here. I don't know how closely they can follow. I know Australia isn't an aerodynamic track that is a little bit harder to follow around, but Nigel Pickle making it look easy at the moment, even if Maxi is struggling to keep up with the back of Midland Maestro out in front at the moment. Then Soprano Legends been unable to make much progress on those soft tyres as it stands. He's dropping off the back of Valente in P4 at the moment. Lap 5 now out of 29. Still top 3, top 4 I should say, that started this race, but Nigel Pickle and Valente swapping orders off the line. Nigel Pickle here is looking quick. TJ's left out an excitable scream again. It could only mean something's happened. What's going on, TJ?
I'm soft tyres are definitely winding down. I'm not good at making a particular skipping. Was closing the door. Made a particular nether. I was closing the door on Skibby, but decided he wanted to try and make the overtake as they went through turns 10 and 11, and had to back out of it and almost dropped it into the wall.
Now runs at the back of the field. DRS is disabled. He's managed to avoid any damage. Will continue on behind Sneddon now, who moves up to P13 following the misfortune for I'm Not Good then, and under DRS Diamond then making a move now on Soprano Legend, who drops down to 6. Then soft tyres, as you mentioned today, yeah, looking like they are starting to struggle up against those yellow walled mediums. And the Aston Martin back in the points positions at the moment. As Sneddon now ahead of Iron Jaw as well, looking to make his way quickly back through the field. Right, still to score points here, and there is a car behind, and it is Soprano Legend, who completely lost the rear of that Aston Martin. Hit the wall. It was a big swap at the back there, unable to catch it. Very strange place, very strange collision. To be honest, we was riding with Diamonds. We saw it happen in the background. Soprano Legend then out of the race. Both Aston Martins out of the race. Collisions that made themselves, and another safety car here, TJ. Do people coming now to pick the hard tyres?
I think so. I think the likes of Sneddon, maybe Locke downwards as well. They could see him put a set of hards on. If I was giving Ned, I'd be definitely jumping in the pits to get rid of them soft tyres and putting a set of hards on. As we have got Magsy in the pit, so we'll see what he's about to put on. This is a picture's pit box, and it does look like, oh, he's put a set of softs on. I'm not quite sure what Magsy's done there.
Soft tyres for Magsy, soft tyres for Hobnob as well. Then the leaders continue on round. Magsy will rejoin the field in P8 now then. And the only drivers that have pit so far have all put the softs on, bar Neder, who's come in and put the hards on, so we'll now look to get those tyres till the end. But interesting that the leaders didn't choose to pit there either, TJ, so at this point of the race, Magsy might be P8, but he's kind of on the same strategy as everyone else here, because of course he won't get those tyres till the end, but he knows all those ahead of him will still have to pit, so he might be pretty racy here off the restart.
He's caught them all, he's caught them all off guard because they can't get up because they dropped too far back. so obviously he'll have the great speed, but how quick we saw the softs falling away for some of the other drivers. Magsy's probably got 5 or 6 laps of true pace on him. So being stuck behind Snedden probably isn't the best driver to be stuck behind at this point. So he has got a lot of work to do still, but hopefully perhaps being stuck behind Snedden, they'll pull him along as he makes the overtakes through if Snedden makes overtakes through the field.
Yeah, expect to see Snedden pretty racy on this restart, especially against Skivid ahead of him on those soft tyres. Quickly back to the Twitch chat while the safety car is still out. David Larface says, what happened to Sneddy Boy? Sneddy got a nice spin after the safety car restart. He'll be hoping to avoid one of those this time around. Great fair racing from Iron Jaw and Snedden. Unfortunately we missed that. But I'm glad it was great fair racing. So that's what we like to see. And not many more comments, but we have got 35 beautiful viewers watching. Sorry we can't entertain you anymore. We've had 2 safety cars in 8 laps. It will get better, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll see better racing than what we've seen in this opening Midfield Maestro, who has led from lights out, continues on round in P1. Nigel Piggle and Valente move up a place due to Maxi pitting. Continues on round those soft tyres in P8. Diamond as well, a good start from him. Stint sees him P4 now, right up behind the top 3. Perhaps we're looking to challenge those at this stage. But you know, Snedden had that spin earlier on. TJ's already back in the points. The safety car would have helped him out no end as well. Is there still a potential that he can win this race?
I think so from this point. He's obviously... You imagine he'll clearly skiving pretty quickly here. Then he's going to be stuck behind Locker and Diamond, where it might put a bit more challenge up for him. But if you can clear them 2 pretty quickly, you get stuck behind Valenti, who we have seen's got plenty of pace in him. So he can do it, but I suppose you've got to keep an eye on Magsy behind with them soft tyres, because if Magsy gets past him on their safety car restart, then Snedden's job just gets 10 times harder.
Does very much need to clear those cars ahead of him as quickly as he possibly can, and he'll have the chance to do that after this lap. Safety car in, of course. Now the field is bunched together. Midfield Maestro backing them up early on here, just at the start of Sector 3. We saw him last time on the restart go pretty early. He went right off before the final corner. Magsy out, who was behind him that time. Nigel Piggle, though, is wise to a safety car restart, as we all know. Sorry. We all know Nigel Piggle's very cautious on a safety car restart. Midfield Maestro then continues on, and once again has nailed the safety car restart. Almost a second ahead of Nigel Piggle then. Down into turn 1. Valente is a little bit closer to the Haas ahead of him in P3. Diamond as well has fallen a second back. FPRL Locker up behind him as well. Snedden has already cleared Skivid by turn 1. We knew he'd get past pretty quickly, and he is ahead. And now Max is trying to get past 2 down into turn 3, and he's managed to get that Williams up into 7th place ahead of Skivid as well. Then half the time we're dropping back an awful lot of places on that restart with 8-lap-old soft tyres. Would you just think to yourself, TJ, why did he not come into the pit? Surely he could have run a set of mediums till the end now.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm not sure what Skivid's thinking there. Perhaps he wants to push a couple of extra laps and just be certain on the mediums to make him CM. But under safety car conditions, he definitely would have gone more. So it's a shame from the Alpha Tauri driver there.
It is indeed. And we'll see how quickly drivers behind him on the fresher tyres get ahead of him now. Then as Snedden continues his ascent through the field, then looking to recover from his poor qualifying and opening stint from this race, but it is still Midfield Maestro is ahead at the moment. Nedair, I think, has had a spin on the hard tyres. Just at the end of the left-right chicane at the end of Sector 2. Carried on his way though. Don't know if he's got any damage, but he has got damage. He's got no front wing. As he allows his Alpine teammate through.
As Skivid just dropped it, trying to come through the final corners on soft tyres. So it looks like, yeah, he needs to get rid of him as soon as possible. Yeah, as both Alpine drivers are in the pits again in a double stack, and an absolute nightmare for the Alpine team. As I endure pits a 5-second time penalty up.
Yeah, bad day in the office at the moment for the two Alpines. I enjoy with the 5-second penalty both into the pits. As you mentioned, Locker's retired. He was just passed by Snedden. I was going to mention it. Snedden had just got ahead of the McLaren, and now the McLaren is out.
Yeah, that's a shame. I don't quite see what happened there. Perhaps Locker got a bit too greedy, or maybe there was a bit of aggressive defending or attacking, but that's a shame for the McLaren driver there. As that's a very late safety car call there.
It is. Oh, I didn't think they were going to call one. So, safety car out for the third time now. You see 12 runners left in this race. If you could all stop crashing so we could have a bit more entertainment on track. TJ has been heated from the session.
Yeah, can you I've been told I've got to sign into Xbox Live. Well, connected to Xbox Live.
No, mate. Sorry, I heard you've got to message Cocoms to get a re-invite. I think it's Cocoms you need to speak to about getting that re-invite to the session. Oh wait, Cocoms.
I just had a quick chat to him, mate. He says he hasn't got a clue, but I'll invite back to the session.
Yeah, I'll invite you back. Yeah, skip it into the pits now as we thought he would. We'll get our lovely Stokey. Okay. Skip it into the pits, onto the medium tyres. He does listen to us sometimes. New front wing as well for good measure. And will then retake to the track in 10th, 11th place. I think Iron Jaw might have got ahead of him here. He has indeed. So skip it now down to 11th then. And while all that was going on, get people back into the game. A lot of drivers into the pits then for a new set of tyres, TJ. Interestingly enough, Maxi has pit again. And he's coming again for the hard tyres. Interesting choice. Midfield Maestro has also pitted for the softs, along with Belente. So that's P3 and P5 now on soft tyres. Nigel Pickle pitted for the hards. Diamond has got the leap on Maxi in this safety car situation, up into P6. And Maxi, yeah, P7 now on the hards then. So the strategy really not paying off for Maxi there.
No, not at all. And we did question why he coming for sets off. Obviously, the safety cars ruined this strategy as such. But yeah, obviously Snedden's probably not the best place here currently tyre strategy-wise, especially with Nigel Pickle, Diamond and Maxi all on the hard tyres now. Who still has got a lot of work to do. As Bloody Bums left, and I'll get him back up now.
I leave him. It's his own fault. Should have better connection. Come on, boys. I think I got kicked out of the Monza race last week. This game is absolutely fantastic, of course. One driver who hasn't pitted yet, it's very important to mention as he leads the race. Snedden. 11 lap on mediums, out in the lead at the moment, most likely with 3 safety cars looking to go medium to soft, which was, I think, the strategy most drivers were aiming for. This is really interesting. Really interesting to see how he fares up to the likes of Midfield Maestro and Belente, who are both on fresh soft tyres.
Yeah, definitely. As you can imagine, Midfield Maestro will make easy work of Hobnob in front of him. Obviously, the key ones here who were playing the long game are Nigel Pickle, Diamond and Maxi, who are going to go to the end on hard. I'm surprised they haven't tried to get a set of mediums to the end at this point.
Yeah, I'm very surprised by Maxi. I don't know why, unless he didn't have a new set of medium. Sorry, I don't know why he didn't put the mediums on until the end of this point. Same with, did Diamond start on the softs?
I don't think he did. I'll just check the race director.
I know it's Soprano and Panicendo both on the softs.
Oh, he started on the mediums, Diamond did.
So we had to go to the hards till the end. But yeah, the drivers that have already run two different compounds. I'm not too sure why. We would opt to the hards to the end of this race. Our third safety car restart is going to get underway very shortly. Snedden will lead this safety car restart. TJ.
Everyone wants to 7.
Let's see how he deals with it compared to his counterpart. Two to deal with this race. TJ, if you want to lead us away for this third safety car restart.
Yep, as Stenning still hasn't gone. He's back in the pack up as we used to. He'll probably take this to the final corner, if not to the line. And he still hasn't gone. He's still holding the pack up, warming his tyres up. And he's gone, but last minute as per, hasn't really caught anyone sleep in the pavement. They can Maestro might get moved on a hobnob here. As the drivers come down to turn 1. Still very nice and clean. Hobnob does keep P2 for the time being. As Diamond has dropped it through turn 1.
Oh, great.
And
Now we've lost another driver from this session. Hopefully no safety car. Not a fourth one.
I'm not quite sure what happened to William there as well. He's come into the pits for set medium, so he must have picked a bit of wing damage up or something.
It's really not helped. He definitely not hoping for a safety car. He now runs plus 29 seconds. 25.6 off the back of Skimmy 11. So only 11 drivers left. 10, of course, score points. So there's only be one driver at the minute out. The ones remaining not getting points, and I imagine lots of people have got bets on that being Willy Bum at the moment, contrary from the back of the field. But Mithra Maestro is not letting Snedden get away from him as expected on 10-lap fresher soft tyres. Half a second the gap now between the Alfa Romeo and the Red Bull driver at the moment then. And Magsy has made up 2 places off the start. He's also up to 6th place on those hard tyres, but it really is Mithra Maestro and Valente who have to make the progress here, because they're going to have to pit again surely before the end of this race.
Yeah, certainly. I imagine see these drivers go to maybe lap 20 before considering putting a second set of softs on. Not unless he runs to lap 17, 18 and put a set mediums on. But I can't see what drivers putting a set of softs on to see him to the end at this point. But it certainly is going to be an interesting end to this race, assuming there isn't any more. I'm not going to say the word, but there isn't any more incidents, and we keep the racing going.
Fingers crossed. Well, I know Willy Bum will have his fingers crossed that there is another safety car before the end of this race. We are nearly at halfway distance, believe it or not. It's taken us an absolute age to get here. Safety car period, but we are here. Mithra Maestro still pushing Snedden along. Snedden, don't think he would have been in the lead of this race at the halfway point, but he is here. He is on a decent enough strategy to challenge till the end of this race. Just depends what kind of pace he can find in his locker on those medium tyres, and he's managed to do a good job of it at the moment. But of course, safety car will be DRS will be enabled after the safety car at the end of this lap. So we'll see how quickly Mithra Maestro can dispatch of the Alfa Romeo ahead of him with the DRS assistance, of course. And there we go, across the line. He won't quite get it this lap because there's only one detection zone. But he might not need the safety car if he can get a good tow here on Snedden down into turn 3. Not quite going to get it done on this lap then, and we'll settle for P2 at the moment then. Hobnob falling off slightly at the back of Mithra Maestro now as well, but he too is strategy till the end of this race. But Nigel Pickle then and Magsy, P4 and P6 at the moment, TJ, on the hard tyres, will not have to stop again before the end of this race. Safety car dependent. Have they played an absolute blinder then in terms of getting to the end of this race?
Just one minute to answer that question. Sten has left the session, which could make this interesting. I'm just getting back in. But yeah, that's the question. Yeah, they have got the strategy in their hands. They will get to the end. So yeah, assuming nothing else happens, I imagine we'll see him on the podium.
Snedden and Mithra Maestro's real ding dong here. Obviously, it's Snedden's AI, and I'm just wondering that did Michael Maestro get wing damage?
I think he did. Yeah, he got wing damage.
He was racing Snedden's AI car, ran into the back of him at the end of the third DRS zone, and is now into the pits for a new front wing.
That's
oh dear.
Disastrous for Red Bull driver there, as he is going to put a set of hards, is that the mediums on? But obviously now he'll be training for a safety car to pull him back into this race. I mean, that's the unfortunate of racing against an AI. The AI does obviously slow down a lot sooner than a normal driver, and it does catch up to a lot of drivers.
That is absolutely massive then. So rather an unforced error there from Midfield Maestro. Now down in 10th place, still at the moment will get a sole point, but wow, I mean, we know Snedden's car was in AI, we saw it on stream, we saw the contact between the pair of them. I didn't quite clock it at first, but when Hobnob made the easy overtake, I knew something was wrong, and yep, indeed, Maestro into the pits for a new front wing now and runs 20 seconds off P9 then, so he is effectively now pretty much out of in this race, depending on safety cars. Snedden looking to make a re-overtake there on Hobnob, who managed to pass him on the lap before after the contact between his AI and Midfield Maestro, and Snedden is back ahead in the lead of this race then. And Nigel Piggle must be absolutely licking his lips at this point. He knows he doesn't have to pit again, and he's still hanging on to the top two despite being on the hard tyres.
Yeah, definitely. Nigel's played the best strategy possible. Same as Magsy. He's not as close to currently, but he knows relenting. I'm not good. I've got to pit again. I can't see how to get them ties to the end. So effectively, he is probably P2 once Snedden pits as well. So just keep it clean, and we'll see both drivers on the podium. Hobnob is doing a fantastic job with them softs. So I mean, we saw drivers on 6-7 lap all softs really struggling. I mean, Hobnob looks like something an issue there, but he's still keeping up with Snedden on them on hard softs.
Yeah, he's doing a great job at the moment. But of course, we'll have to pit again before the end of this race, which at this point would take him to just ahead of Midfield Maestro at that instant earlier on. So there is still good points on the table here for Midfield Maestro if he can hold it together to the end of this race, depending on who needs to pit again and who doesn't. It's still Snedden that leads this race by over a second ahead of Hobnob P2 at the moment. Nigel Piggle at the back of the Red Bull now in P3. They've got Valente and I'm Not Good just behind them as well. There's 13 laps now to go till the end of this race. So I imagine at this point, as Hobnob now chooses to come into the pits, I'm just wondering, TJ, what tyres he would choose to go onto at the end at this point in the race.
I mean, surely a set of softs is the way to go, and yes, he has put a set of softs on. They'll seem through to the end, but they'll still lose time at this point, obviously. But there was a bit of a no-brainer there that he had to put a set of softs on, so it's not any chance of really doing anything in this race now. But he's going to be so far behind the rest of the pack.
He's joined then in 7 as I'm Jaw. Well, it is P7. So Red Bull, who are running 2 and 3 at one stage now, 7 and 8, and on a recovery drive from there then. Still Snedden out in front. Nigel Piggle unable to make those fresher hard tyres make the difference at the moment, but surely the Alfa Romeo will be into the pit soon, and I imagine we'll see him come out just ahead then of Hobnob, just been into the pits, of course. But Nigel Piggle, the strategy here, and a prime chance now to take another win this season.
Yeah, he's played the blind, and we did question mark what drivers did hard strategy when he pitted. And yeah, they should have done. Nigel Piggle and Magsy both in a fantastic place here. As I mentioned, Valente and I'm Not Good. Push them laps another 10. Sorry, to push them softs another 10 laps. That's asking a lot from softs.
Yep, almost impossible, really, till the end of the race. So it's not all over yet for the Red Bulls down in 7th and 8th. There is still chance for them to get ahead of at least those two that will need to stop again. Skibbard as well. The driver I've not mentioned, we spoke about him earlier on after we had a couple of mishaps in the early part of the race. P6 at the moment on a set of mediums. He'll surely be able to take them till the end, considering the laps behind the safety car as well. So perhaps he's if those ahead of him have to pit again.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he could effectively promote up to P4, P3.
Yeah, I think it will be a P3 initially, of course. I think it's 11 seconds back from P5, so it depends how quickly he's on pace at the end of the race. Is Beletta looking to go around the outside, but yeah, there is still the chance there for him to at least actually get that P3.
Yeah, that's a fantastic result for Skid as well. You know, he doesn't get to P3 very often. We don't see him in the top 10, so you know, to even if he doesn't make the podium, finishes P4, P5, he'll be absolutely chuffed with them points.
Well, indeed, it'll be his best finish of the season if he can convert it at this point. Though he needs to keep his head focused now in P6, which I'm sure he's happy with as it stands, but there is still more on the table at the moment then, as we're watching a scrap for P2 between Nigel Pickle and Belente. Belente looking to go around the outside, then into turn 3. The drivers get very close for comfort. Nigel Pickle not leaving any room on the exit there. It's a little bit of a lunge from Belente, so perhaps he can't have too many complaints as he's looking to go around the outside there. But yeah, Nigel Pickle is struggling on those tyres at the moment, and Maxi behind us on the similar set of tyres is very much able to keep up with the Haas driver at the moment.
Yeah, well, I mean, all this is doing currently is building the gap between themselves and Snedden. He's nearly 2.5 seconds on the road now, and these were all running behind him, so the little gap between Nigel and Belente has really pulled that gap. So we'll have to wait to see what happens. Obviously, it's still not enough for Snedden to pit and come out in a decent place, but every little helps at this point.
Indeed, I'm not good now ahead of Belente 2 as well as Maxi then. Williams and Ferrari dropping slightly behind P2 and P3 at the moment. Belente is struggling on those tyres. Iron Jaw is now out of the race, and it's another safety car then, and Snedden is in the pits.
Yeah, that's saved him so much there. He will come out in obviously P4 still. And
but the safety car has picked up the leader. It's already picked up Nigel Pickle, which means, of course, Snedden will be able to close to the back of the pack. This safety car could not have gone any more perfectly for Snedden, who was in the pits the minute it came out, and the safety car has picked up the leader, and Snedden will be able to cruise up to the back before anybody at the front has the opportunity to change their tyres.
Yep. I mean, that's unbelievable. And Belente has done a fantastic stop there. So he's managed to get rid of his soft tyres, put a fresh soft on, set on. But I mean, I think we've said this numerous times this season. Snedden in safety cars, he times his pit strategies so perfectly on pit safety cars. I mean, I think this guy's obviously got Michael Massey on dial or something at this point, because every time the safety car, he's in the pits.
Yeah, definitely. And the look this guy gets is unparalleled in this tier. Even this league, I'd say Snedden 69 really does fall very, very lucky when it comes to safety cars. He was in the pit lane as the safety car was called out, and somehow the safety car still managed to pick up Nigel Pickle coming into turn 1. Such a shame. Because of course, if Nigel had come through ahead of the safety car, he would have been able to pit and retaliate whatever Snedden did now, but he has to now carry on those hard tyres. He cannot pit. Come out ahead of the Alfa Romeo. That is absolutely unbelievable. I cannot believe how that's felt for Snedden, to be honest. If he doesn't play the lottery, he should, because he'd be very, very, very lucky on that. I'm not got into the pits then. Has to pit on those soft tyres. Maxi is in 2, I think, as well.
Yeah, that is something that Nigel didn't want at this point. He's got a hungry Snedden behind him, and we know the battle between these two drivers. So this will be an interesting restart for sure. But given Snedden's on these fresh softs, it's still a matter of time of when he passes Nigel.
Some would say, Nigel's fall is Snedden's gain, and yeah, timing of that safety car could not have been any more contrasting fortunes for the top two at the moment. Snedden perfectly timed for him. Worst time for him. It looked like he was going to be in a prime position to take the win here today. He still can. There will be 8 laps, I imagine, left when the safety car comes in for the 4th time. But it's a huge ask now. Surely the favourite at this point is definitely that man there in P2. Just seems like, even if he hasn't got the skill on a race day, we saw him in qualifying, he struggled there and he started right at the back. Even if he struggles, somehow the luck comes through and gets him the points on the board.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm still shocked that Snedden's managed to time this stop perfectly again. I think you already covered it that he is the luckiest driver in this league. And I mean, I might have a word with him because given my luck in some of the races this season, I need some that luck he's definitely got.
It's definitely. The safety car will be in at the end of this lap then, as I mentioned, for the 4th time today. It is a Nigel Piggle safety car restart for the 1st time today. TJ, if you want to lead us away on this restart, which I imagine Snedden will be absolutely raring to get underway.
Yep, certainly. Nigel is obviously backing him up. I don't think he's gone at this point. No, but he is looking at going very shortly and has gone. I don't think he caught Snedden sleeping there at all. It was going to be a start, but it wasn't enough to pull the gap that Nigel really needs at this point. And as Valente makes the move on Hobnob. But I mean, with only 10 drivers running, it is a nice clean from all drivers through turn 1. And worth noting that no matter what happens from this point, all 10 drivers racing will finish with at least a point.
Yep, they will. Lap 23 of 29, 10 drivers left, as you mentioned, so they will all carry home some kind of points at the end of this race. Snedden then all over the back of Nigel Piggle now. Surely it's just a matter of time. Oh! Oh dear.
I mean, I'm not quite sure what we've just witnessed there.
If Snedden is watching, I could not have got that any more perfectly on stream.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Could Nigel have given a bit more space there? I mean,
from what I was riding on board with Snedden as he was about to come past, he was up the inside of Nigel. I don't know if Nigel just... I don't know. I think Nigel moved a little bit, but I'd have to watch it back to see. Fortunately, it is on the stream.
That's certainly what it looked like from my point of view. Like, it's Nigel squeezed him a bit too much and should have given a bit more space, but we'll wait to see what the stewards say on that one. But that's a disaster for Snedden, because considering that he got himself back up the grid into what should have been his victory at this point, to be honest. It's not disastrous for him, still gets a point, but that's a massive talking point, that is.
Yeah, and it will surely be a talking point after the race, I'm sure, amongst the stewards. No doubt that will go in, and we will have an outcome on that by the next race, if not in a few days' time, when the final race results will go out live on our Twitter account. If you're not following at FairPlayRL on Twitter, be sure to follow at fully confirmed race results after the stewards' inquiries, and Mifford Maestro pick up at 3 seconds. That could be detrimental to his finishing position. Not a lot of penalties in the 9 drivers which are running at the moment, but yeah, surely there's only one talking point really to be had at the end of this race. It is that collision for Snedden. It will mean, I'm not too sure if he's going to finish this, but it will mean I don't think he can wrap up the title next week now. He does pick up a point, however. Just get one. P10 gets that 1 point. I think we should give him that. After what I've just witnessed there. We'll see if we get to interview and get his opinion on things, but of course, before we do that, we need to finish in the top 3 first. And Valente and Hobnob might have something to say about that one, as they're all over the back of him at the moment. Is Nigel Pickle going to make Valente's job as hard as he did Snedden's? He's all over the back of him at the moment, and perhaps looking to try and pick a safe spot to make the overtake if he saw what went on ahead of him then. I don't want to jinx anyone here, but surely it's a matter of time before Valente is through. But I said that about Snedden. Snedden ended up in the wall, so yeah. I think you mentioned it, TJ. There's no love lost between Nigel Pickle and Snedden. I'm sure it's all friendly barbs at the end of the day. I'm sure there's nothing sinister about it, of course. It's all friendly banter between the pair of them. But in terms of a racing point of view, there is no love lost between the pair of them.
No, not at all. Although the comments I've just seen that Snedden is just mostly for Nigel. There could be a little bit of a war. Let's say let's just say Snedden isn't happy.
Well, we might have a bit of a war, yeah. After this one, they might not be so friendly as Nigel Pickle then defending now against Valente and is surely holding the field up here. I mean, he's doing a stellar job, it must be said. 15 lap old hard tyres. He's got an absolute train behind him at the moment in terms of drivers, but he still leads this race then. Lap 26 of 29, the Ferrari cannot get past still, despite the tyre advantage at the moment. And so whatever is coming Nigel Pickle's way at the end of this race, he's still putting a decent final stint here. As the two Red Bulls behind, I think a bit of a civil war as well at the moment. Midfield Maestro on the medium tyres, Hobnob on the softs. Midfield Maestro able to push his teammate along slightly there. Nigel Pickle struggling for ERS. Valente with half a tank as well. Hobnob now managing his teammates on penalties. Another 3 seconds for him here. Valente looking to throw it now around the outside of Nigel Pickle. Nigel defending very heavily indeed, looking to hold off the Ferrari here, who's still on the outside, and that's a brilliant overtake from Valente. Nigel made it very difficult for him, but he is now temporarily ahead at the very least.
Yeah, definitely, and then fresh softs as well. He should have the grip to at least pull ahead a little bit here. Obviously DRS, we've got double DRS dose Nigel has, so we'll see what happens, but yeah, it was very hard defending from Nigel, that was. He's desperate for this one.
Desperate for the win, but he might have to settle for P2 or even lower now, depending on what penalties the stewards might agree to give him, depending on the outcome of that collision, which I'm sure will be investigated after the race. Now then, with 2.5 laps to go, it's now Valente who leads the race at the moment for Ferrari. And Nigel Pickle in P2. Maxi then with a crucial 3-second time penalty, which now means he will not get P3 on the timing boards should the line come now. Hobnob, Midfield Maestro and Maxi all with 3-second time penalties now, which means he's going to have to get the move done on track, TJ, and that's a little bit careless from him there.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to mention that Maxi was in a perfect place and he was on for P3, but with that penalty, yeah, that is a bit of a nightmare for him. As I've just missed as Nigel Pickle's picked penalty up.
And Nigel Pickle now with a 3-second penalty 2. That won't be any more. As Maxi looks like he's had to come in to go with Midfield Maestro then. And
yeah.
Maxi into the pits now for a front wing change, I think. Midfield Maestro as well is on the grass and coming into the pits. So we're coming together between P4 and P5, and both of them now.
Oh, lad.
Oh dear.
Lad. That is disastrous from Midfield Maestro there. Not only did it look like he may have purposely crashed into the wall, he couldn't make it past the safety car pit limiter line. The pit lane limiter line, and retiring the pits had to do it beforehand. That is disastrous. That is lad.
Oh dear. A bit of frustration there from Mirfeld Maestro after that collision with Magsy. Interesting to see if anything comes in. What an instant-filled Australian Grand Prix this has been in Tier 3. Unbelievable. Some of the incidents we've had today. Didn't quite catch the Magsy and Mirfeld Maestro one on track, but I'm sure one of them will feel aggrieved as Mirfeld Maestro now out of the race. Magsy runs P7. The pair were fighting for the podium, which is now occupied by Belente, Nigel Pickle and Hobnob then, who currently will take P3 at the moment. I'm not good as well with a good recovery to 4th place. I think this race, TJ, has just been about who keeps it who keeps it just kind of clean on track. Who just, you know, keeps himself out of the wars. Because Belente's had very few incidents this race. Nigel Piccolo might have got a little bit lucky with his incident, and it was said not to be finding himself further down the grid as well. But everybody else is kind of in the top 8 at the moment. It's just kind of got a very inconspicuous race and has just got on with it and managed to find some points because of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, for any new viewers or our followers through the season, no, this isn't normal Tier 3. I think it's just the
Sure.
You know, it is just a track. You know, it is a very old school track, as we mentioned multiple times, and yeah, it's just caught a lot of drivers out, and obviously some drivers are defending harder than others in those few instances.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see in Tier 1 race and the Tier 2 race tomorrow and Friday whether we have a similar kind of setup there in terms of the amount of incidents that we see. But one driver who has managed to keep it was very clean throughout qualifying and the race indeed. Belente looks like he's going to come around the final corner and take the win here in this Tier 3 Australian Grand Prix. Crosses the line to take the checkered flag ahead of Nigel Pickle, who had that incident earlier on. Hobnob will take P3 then, ahead of I'm Not Good, who's recovered to P4 after his terrible qualifying performance. Willie Bum as well will get P5 after the instance that he's had in this race. Neda P5, is that true? I don't think Willie Bum had a penalty.
Yeah, we'll have to check that one. I'm not sure what's happened there.
We think it was Willie Bum in P5, but Neda as well coming home to take P6. Great points for him. Much needed as well. Magsy, if it's any consolation, will get himself the fastest lap point over the line there. P7 to take home a total of 7 points. That is there. And Skivid crosses the line to round off the finishers. Not quite the points places. Rounds off the finishers then in P8. P9, Midfield Maestro, who had a coming together with Magsy, which is why they were nowhere near the podium. And in P10, it was Snedden, who we saw of that coming together with Nigel Pickle. I've mentioned it, and please, if you do want to see the results of any stewards' decisions, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Fairplay RL. If you are not in the Discord, join the Discord if you're part of the league or you are looking for a league ahead of the next game. We are planning on running the similar format next season. 2022 game, so be sure to join the recruitment link if you want to join the server there. There is your classification. It is, as I mentioned, Belente, Nigel Pickle and Hobnob on the top 3 steps. Grid. Missing out on a podium, missing out on a point, I should say, P11 for him then. That would have been a very point for him. I don't think he's got any points so far. I think he would have loved getting these points there. But Snedden just beams that by DNFing slightly later on in the race. Diamond P12, Locker P13, Soprano. David Longface and Panic N we saw had that coming together on the opening lap of the race. It was a very quick opening lap for them. As we will try and get the podium finishers, of course, into the lobby. Hear from one man in particular. I imagine everyone that's on the stream right now is literally waiting to hear from one man. One man indeed. Let's see if we can get him in to discuss that incident. I think if he doesn't, he'll be shying away. Got some Bitcoin there for the viewers, so you can see. 8,500 apparently. But yeah, hopefully we can get Nigel Pickle in for this interview. Please, Nigel, don't shy away now.
I mean, it's
Shy away now, lad.
it's not looking up for any of our podium setters. No one wants to join us. I have advised them all twice now. I will try and see if we can get anyone in. If not, I think there is one man in particular that will want to perhaps have a brief chat with us and snare him. Perhaps get his point of view on the instance. So I'm going to invite a again one more time, see if we can get anyone there.
Yeah, Nigel Pickle's almost faking connection issues here to try and get out of giving us a much wanted interview. Come on, Nigel. Come on. Belente joins us. Lovely to see that. Hopefully we can talk with our race winner this week. TJ, it is that time of the stream. I'm going to have to press you for a name. Not quite a number, just a name. Who then are you going to give Driver of the Day to this week?
I mean, it's a real tough one this week, I think, considering all the incidents that have gone on. But in particular, I think there's potentially 2 or 3 drivers that could get this. I'm not looking at the top 3 this week, unfortunately. I am looking at the likes of Willie Bum Ned and I'm not good. They've all had great recovery drives. But I think if I had to give it to one driver, it would have to be I'm not good. He did finish P4, started P12. And kept it pretty nice and clean. And yeah, so I think the driver of the day for me is I'm not good. Purely based on just his starting position and the way he finished.
There we go then. You heard it here first. Driver of the day for Tier 3 around Australia. We've gone with the game's choice. It is I'm not good, and I can't disagree with that one too much. Great drive from him to recover to P4 from his P12 starting position. So put the bad qualifying behind him. It looks like we're only going to get one person in for the interview, unfortunately. I think we've already got Valente here. Grateful he can join us to give us a bit of insight into his race. The race winner for this week?
Yeah, sure. So just a quick shout out to obviously Nigel and who's the other driver on the podium. I don't remember.
I don't know if we can shout out Nigel after what we witnessed. We might have to hold that one back for now.
Yeah, okay, that's a good point. But congratulations to the drivers that did make the podium. But yeah, thank you for joining Valente. It's nice to speak to you. Do you want to talk us through your qualifying? How did you find it?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be that quick, to be honest. Like Q1, I went out. I was surprised that on my second run I went P1. But then when I came in the garage, I realised that someone had crashed out. So like basically everyone was through. So I thought people like Snedden and Nigel weren't showing their real pace. Yeah, Q2 got through. 3. Oh yeah, it started raining, didn't it? I couldn't get a second lap in. I think I was like 3rd or 4th. Their qualifying was much better than I thought.
I mean, that's always a bonus, especially if you go with low expectations, come up really high.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good qualifying for myself. Obviously the race, it was pretty eventful, we'll say the least. How did you find it? Somewhat clean. I think you were in a driver not to pick a penalty. One of the only drivers not to pick a penalty that finished. So do you want to just talk us through? Well, just to start the race, really. I mean, you had 2 safety cars within 8 laps. Does that change your mindset in any way?
The first one didn't, and the second one, 'cause I was going to one stop and go on hards. Then I thought, I'm just going to gamble on the second one and go soft. Then I saw Nigel a couple of others got on hards, and I was thinking, I've messed this up. I've got to stop. I haven't. But luckily, the third safety car sort of saved me. It came out just as I was in the pit entrance. So the leaders picked up the safety car at the exit of turn 2, so I got a free pit stop really.
Yeah, I did catch that on stream. Biddle caught that Snedden was in the pit lane, and I caught that you were just entering pit lane as it come out. So yeah, you know, putting an extra set of softs on really helped you out.
Yeah, massive bonus.
I'm not sure if you did see it or not, but I'm going to ask the question. Did you see the incident between Nigel and Snedden?
No, not really. Only I was on the exit of a corner, and as I came around that bend, I just saw him sort of tangle on the inside, so I've no idea what went on there.
That's no worries. I mean, I just thought I'd get your opinion on it, but obviously you can't really comment on much.
Yeah, I was a bit too far back to really see what had happened. I just saw the aftermath of it, really.
I mean, if you pass 4 races, you've had some decent results, haven't you? I mean, you finished P3 last week. You had a P2 the week before.
Yeah.
Same as the week before. So you've been on the podium 4 times in a row now. And considering you missed the first 3 races of the week, you're pretty high up in points. I mean, are we seeing a bounce back in Valente? So I mean, I called you up pretty early in the season for your pace. But it seemed like you dropped down a little bit, but the past 4 races, you've been back up there.
Yeah, I went through a phase. I was trying out on a wheel, but I just haven't got any pace on it yet. So I went back to pads. I think that's why my pace has picked back up. I think I did Austria, France, somewhere else on wheel, but I was just getting nowhere with it. So I went back to pads. I seem to have got some pace back.
That's great news. I mean, you know, it's certainly mixing up the top. I'm gonna say top 5 really. There's 4 or 5 of you that, you know, that can swap and change places. But it's brilliant to see on the podium again.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
I mean, Biddle, have you got any questions? I don't want to be hogging everything up.
No. I was just going to echo what you said, and congratulations on the win. Kept your wrist clean today, so I think that helped you very much, and the strategy worked for you as well. So, yeah, no, congratulations on that win. And
Cheers, mate.
on that note, I think we'll bring this stream to a close. We unfortunately are unable to speak to our P2 and P3 today, even though I know a lot of you would have wanted to hear the opinions of Nigel Piggle on that incident, so we will have to look out for any stewards' inquiries into that. Be sure to join us tomorrow, and it's Tier 1. They will be taking to Australia, unfortunately for them, after tonight. We'll see if it's anything like tonight tomorrow in terms of the amount of incidents. And Tier 2 are racing on Friday as well, and the championship in Tier 1 really hotting up now, actually, so be sure to tune in to see if Amos Drive can extend his championship lead tomorrow. But that's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you to TJ for joining me once again. Hopefully you continue to join me, TJ, because I can't remember the last time I did comms with anyone else now. I kind of got used to it. But no, thank you once again. And as I mentioned, that is all. So be sure to tune in tomorrow night, 8 PM UK time, for Tier 1 around Australia.